Alright guys, today we're going to be doing a build guide on Yanqing, like the best build that you can possibly build him as, for sure, 100%. So before you guys say what you're going to say, I saw your guys' comments in our tier list video, and you guys were absolutely shitting on this man. So I figured, why not make a build guide for him, because he is not as bad as you're making him out to be. This man is kind of goated, bro. He does so much damage, though it can be kind of inconsistent at times. He still hits absolutely big damage, big boy numbers. And to whoever said that Don Hung is better than Yanqing, you got it, man. Alright, so guys, today we're going to talk about how to build Yanqing. So first we'll talk about his skills, then Ligtcones, then traces, then relics, and then finally Eidelons, and then with a little bit of a test at the end, or like a showcase at the end for him. So let's go ahead and hop right into it, guys. Alright guys, so as far as the skill goes, he's basically just going to be doing ice damage to a single target, and then activating this soul steel sync for one turn, which we'll talk about in the talent in a second here. This man's ultimate is going to be increasing his crit rate by 60%, and if the sync is active, it's going to be increasing his crit damage by an extra 36%. This buff is going to last for one turn. After all that's done, he'll finally be doing his actual attack and dealing his ice damage to his enemy, so he does get buffed before he actually uses this skill. And keep in mind, this is going to last for one turn. So if you use this ultimate when you're off his turn, that means the next turn you do, your actual skill ability will have increased damage. So you just keep that in mind, guys. And then finally, his talent. Okay, this is going to be basically when the sync is active. He's going to be less likely to be targeted. His crit rate's also going to increase. His crit damage is going to increase. After he attacks an enemy, there's a certain chance he's going to do a follow-up attack. Basically, this has a pretty high chance to freeze the enemy, 65% to be exact, actually. And the frozen target is also going to be taking additional damage equal his attack at the beginning of each turn. And then the big caveat here, you can see when he is damaged, he will, this effect goes away. Yeah, those are words, right? Alright guys, this is where he's getting most of his stuff from. Honestly, with the ultimate and the talent alone, you really don't need to build much into crit rate, because he's getting 16.5% crit rate from his talent, and he's also getting an extra 60% crit rate from his ultimate. So the thing that matters the most, which is the damage, yeah, he's getting a bunch of crit rate. So really, you just don't even want to build too much crit rate into him, or any at all, honestly. You're getting very close to like an 80% crit rate with both his talent and his ultimate skill. And we'll be talking about the bonus effects when we actually get to the traces, so don't worry about that just yet. And one other thing, I see a lot of people complaining about, like, if he gets hit, it's all over. Not really. This really only affects the ultimate move, because if you use the ultimate after he's been not targeted, then it's not going to do damage. Of course, you're going to be missing out on that crit damage buff, but all you really have to do is wait for his turn, use his talent again, and then use the ultimate right after. So I don't know why people are making a big deal about that. Like, of course, like, the best in slot as far as running a team for him would be Gforce, but you don't necessarily have to run Gforce. So I just want to go ahead and throw that argument out there right now. Yeah, you don't have to run him with Gforce, even though I do on my team. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the Ligtcones for him now, and like what could be the best in slot for him. So as far as the Ligtcones, it's going to be very, very similar to Shushang's Ligtcones, and that's because he does do a lot of single target attacking, and his single target attacking is what his main shtick is attacking a single target. So obviously, guys, best in slot for almost every single hunt character is going to be In the Night, which is the one I'm using on him. It's going to be increasing his crit rate by an extra 18%, which also solidifies further why you don't need any crit rate on him. He provides himself with enough crit rate. So honestly, I would probably just focus on speed and crit damage, but yeah, the speed for this class is going to help a lot, because this does give extra basic attack and skill damage, and also extra crit damage for the ultimate. So this just makes it really, really good for him. The river flows in the spring. It's a free Ligtcone. If you don't have any of the Ligtcones, you can definitely use this for a free-to-play Ligtcone on them. I do think the river flows in the spring is better than cruising in the stellar sea, because this is going to be increasing his speed by 8%. It's also going to be increasing his damage by 12%, though this effect does wear off if he's hit, the same thing as his passive does there. Yeah, so I mean, this right here is just really pretty effective for him, honestly, because he doesn't get any crit from this, which he doesn't need any crit, and the other one just gives so much crit, it's just kind of to a point where you don't need the extra crit, if you know what I mean. As the great wise Copsword once told me, the more crit you have on this man, the more copium he becomes, and I completely agree with that statement after testing it out. I was using a different relic set before, and I think that crit honestly does give diminishing returns, so I really wouldn't put anything on that focuses on crit. It's just mainly focusing on damage and crit damage and stuff like that. That's the main thing. Hopping into our handy dandy data bank here to look at the Ligtcones that I wish I had, but will probably never get. This is his signature light cone, the Sleep Like the Dead light cone. This is going to be increasing his crit damage by 30%, and when the wearer doesn't do a crit, it's going to increase his crit rate for 36% for the next turn. I mean, it's alright. I mean, this is his signature light cone, but honestly, there are better light cones for him than this light cone. It's just an alright light cone. The increased crit damage by 30% is really nice for him, but honestly, I wish that crit rate would have been something else. Maybe like extra damage done or something when he doesn't get a crit or something. I don't know. But yeah, the crit right here is just kind of copium, honestly. And honestly, probably his best 4-star light cone is going to be swordplay here, because this is going to increase his damage by 8% every time he attacks the enemy. Keep in mind, he does have follow-up attacks as well. Now, this does count for hits and not turns on the enemy, so his sword does hit the enemy multiple times. So that's just really cracked as well. So, I mean, yeah, he also does follow-up attacks, so it's just really easy to build this up, especially if you're facing a boss, which you're probably going to be facing bosses in the Memory of Chaos when you're using them, because he does do single target damage. So, yeah, this one right here is probably the best 4-star light cone. Same for him, same as Chushong. Honestly, if you get 2 of these guys, it's probably better to just keep 2 of them instead of superimposing it. I know there's pretty big stat increases as far as, like, superimposing it, but I think you might get better use out of this if you actually don't superimpose it, especially if you have Chushong and Yanqing, because this is just a super good light cone to have. I think I would just keep 2 on you at all times if you do have it. And finally, subscribe for more. This can work on them, but what this really works for the best on is you guys subscribing to my YouTube channel, because only like 5% of you guys are actually subscribed. So you guys should subscribe for more content. I know, cringy joke, don't worry about it. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to do that to plug the subscribe for the YouTube channel. I mean, this actually can work on them besides the joke, but yeah, let's talk about the traces now. I'm sorry for being so cringe. Alright guys, hopping into the traces, we're going to talk about the big nodes first, and then we'll talk about how you should be leveling up his talents. Alright, so honestly, what I think to be his best one is probably Icing on the Kick, because this is going to be increasing the damage he deals to enemies with an ice weakness, which just makes him really, really strong against ice weakened opponents. Yeah, I think this is the best. It gives him a 30% damage increase to those enemies, so yeah, really good there. I really like this one. Second best one, and honestly close first place, will be when a crit hit is triggered, it increases the speed by 10% for 2 turns. The speed multiplier here is kind of low. You get maybe like 10 to like 12 speed off this depending on what your speed is. So I mean, yeah, this can work in certain circumstances to get his speed up, especially if you're running the In the Night light cone. This can help out with getting those stacks up as well. And finally, Frost favors the brave. When the Soulstone Sink is active, effect resistance is increased by 20%. I mean, the whole point of him is to not be hit, so I mean, this is just okay. But let's talk about the traces now. So as far as how I would be leveling up the traces, guys, I would be leveling up the ultimate first, then probably the talent, and then finally the skill. The reason I would be leveling up the ultimate first is because this is where your main damage comes from. This is also going to be increasing the crit damage he does on the ultimate and the turn after, and on top of that, just the overall ultimate damage that he does. The talent does the most things for him. The talent is honestly like his main shtick. It's going to be increasing your crit rate, crit damage. It's also going to be increasing the amount of ice damage on the opponent, and so on and so forth. This is just really good to have, and yeah, I would recommend leveling this up second. And then third would be the skill. You do get pretty good damage with the skill, but the only thing is really increasing is just the damage here. It's not really increasing other multipliers. It's just the damage, which I mean the same thing is done with the ultimate. But yeah, that would be my upgrade order. It would be ultimates, and then talent, and then skill. Alright guys, hopping into the relics now. I'm just running like a really scuffed set. I just ran like the best pieces that I currently have on him for the testing of today's video. But let's talk about what sets are probably the best in slot for him. As far as the best set for him goes, it'll be a 4-piece hunter set. Basically what this does is a 2-piece is going to be increasing ice damage by 10%, and then at a 4-piece, whenever they use the ultimate, it's going to be increasing crit damage by 25% for 2 turns. So obviously this set is built for him because his main shtick is dealing crit damage, because his kit already gives him so much crit rate. So yeah guys, like I said, you just want to build this set if you can. That would be the best in slot for him. If you cannot build that set though, there are 2 other sets you could possibly run, that being 2-piece glacial, 2-piece musketeer. That's another set you could run, or you could run 2-piece glacial, 2-piece of the meteor one, the break effect one. That can also work if your main stick is just breaking the enemy shield. He does do pretty high break damage honestly already, so I mean, you could run that as well. That's another viable option to run with him. But as far as like his best set is going to be this 4-piece glacial actual set right here. Now, as far as the planar set goes, I am running 2-piece space station just because this does give attack. It does give 24% attack to be exact, with over 120 speed, which is honestly not hard to reach with them, but that's besides the point. The reason I am running this set instead of Solado is because you honestly are wasting half of it, because it's giving you 8% crit rate, which you really don't need. It's kind of diminishing returns. And as far as damage output goes, while the ultimate and follow-up attack damage is increased by 15%, you have to reach this 50% threshold, which means you are not hitting this threshold for your follow-up attacks, so you're not getting the extra damage for follow-up attacks. This is just going to be a 15% increased damage for your ult only. So if 24% increase to attack is ultimately going to be better than a 15% damage increase just to the ult alone, because you do want to be dealing damage on his skill and follow-up attacks as well, because that is a major part of his kit. You could also run the 2-piece banditry as well, just for the extra break effect damage, because like I said, he breaks the enemy shield really quick because he does follow-up attacks and his normal attacks, so you do a lot of breaking of the shield damage to the enemy. So I mean, this could also work as well. I do think Space Station's probably still the best set for him though. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the stats you should be running on him now. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the shoots first. Honestly, I recommend running speed boots if you're running the In the Night Lightcone, because you want the extra speed to actually get the full passive off. Now, if you're not running In the Night Lightcone, you could possibly run attack boots. I still think overall the speed boots are key, because you do want speed to be able to go faster and use him faster in the rotations. And honestly, I do think this is mandatory if you're running the In the Night Lightcone, because you do want to meet that speed requirement to get the max amount of buffs as possible. If you're not running that though, I mean, like I said, it is possible to run attack boots instead. I do think your damage might decrease though a little bit. As far as the chest plate goes, just go crit damage. I know some people will say crit rate, crit damage works here. Just go crit damage. You do not need any crit rate here. Just go full crit damage for your main stat and you'll be a-okay fine to go. As far as your link rope goes, you're going to just run attack here. That's the main thing you want to focus on here, is just get the attack and main stat here. You could also run energy regen right here as well to get some energy back up faster for him, but you just really need to decide which one could be better for you depending on the team you're running on. Personally, for me, I'm running the attack because, you know, it's rough out here trying to get an energy regen rope, so yeah. And finally, for the ball, we're running an ice damage boost ball here. You could also maybe run an attack boosting ball here if you can't get your elemental set. That's what I would recommend, but the main thing here is you want ice damage boost. Like I said, attack can work, does not do that good on him, but it can work to give him some extra damage. Ultimately, you want the ice damage boost here. Alright guys, hopping into the substats now. As far as the substats you want to be running on him, guys, you want to run crit damage, attack percentage, speed, and break effect. These are the main 4 stats you want to be running. Don't run crit rate here. You don't need crit rate. If you get a crit rate roll that has crit damage on it, then fine, go with it. Just go with it because you want the crit damage. But like I said, guys, crit damage is the main thing here. You want attack percentage, you want speed, and you also want break effect as well, because breaking the enemy shield can do a lot of damage. Alright guys, but with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Eidelons now. Alright, so guys, I have no Eidelons for him, but if I were to say what the best Eidelon is, it's probably E2 or E1. E2 is going to be when Soul Sink is active, energy regeneration rate is increased by an extra 10%, and that means you're getting his ultimate back faster. And then E1 is going to be when he attacks a frozen enemy, he's going to be dealing additional ice damage equal to 60% of his attack, which just is just bigger damage overall for him. This one's okay, but this only really works towards the start of battle to do some additional damage to the enemy. So I mean, it's fine, it doesn't last the whole battle. And then finally, Swift Swoop. If the ultimate busts are still in effect when an enemy is defeated, the duration is extended by 1 turn. I mean, this is okay too, but like I said, your main focus with him is killing bosses, so this really doesn't play too much into that when you're actually facing bosses. So yeah, like I said, guys, E1, E2 are the best. I think E2 being the best, E1 being the second best. So yeah, if you have those, then amazing, pog you. Alright guys, so the main comp that I use them on is actually going to be using Gepard, Bailu, Ting Yun, and Yanqing. Now guys, I know what a lot of you are going to say, oh, he needs Gepard to be able to be useful. Technically, he does not need Gepard. You could run March 7th here and be just fine. You could also run Fire MC here and be fine too, because you do have to realize, guys, that Yanqing is a hunt character, so his aggro rate is actually pretty low. Also, on top of this, guys, from his passive, he's going to be decreasing that aggro rate even more. Gepard, being preservation, has the highest aggro rate, so enemies are going to be targeting this fuck right here. Honestly, the main thing I would say use Gepard for is to get that healer out of there, because if you have a high enough level Gepard, which I don't, he can actually shield for the whole team, and you really don't need healing. So you could run a team like this, for instance, where you could run Ting Yun, Jing Yuan, and Yanqing. He's going to be focusing on killing all the enemies around, like all the smaller adds and stuff like that, and just killing like AoE damage. And he'll be focusing on the boss right here, so this team works really, really well. But say you didn't want to run that, and you just want to focus on Yanqing's damage, you could run Pela here. Do some defense straight on the enemy, and allow him to actually do more damage. You can also make a permafrost comp with this team. You can freeze the enemy out the ass with this. You don't have to worry about the enemy going unga boonga when you can just keep freezing them with these characters here. Now, I will say if you're running Fire MC or March 7th, I would probably put a healer on the team because their shields aren't that great. March 7th can help by taking more aggro off of Yanqing by putting a shield on herself. Also, Fire MC here as well. She can take the aggro away from him by doing a taunt. You know what she does. She does a taunt and also applies damagers for the whole team, so if he does get hit, he'll be taking reduced damage anyways. If you're running Fire MC or you're running March 7th, I probably would recommend a healer unless you're just a Giga Chad, then, you know, you do you, I guess. Alright guys, so as far as the team we're running today, we're going to be using Gepard, Bailu, Ting Yun, and also Yanqing himself. We're running a really support heavy team. Like, we're running a really defense team, and that's not because of Yanqing being on the team by any means. I just kind of want to show his damage output just with one buffer. This can increase if you want to add more buffers to the team. My Pela's level 40, so we can't run that. She'll get one shot if she even gets touched. So for this case, we're just going to be running it like this, and I can show you the damage. So just know the damage can go way higher than this. Basically, what I'm showing off is like a pretty base level amount of damage that he's going to be doing. His speed must have been higher than Ting Yuan's because normally she would do the heavy hitting there. Alright, time to hit the ultimate off. Okay, crit rate, crit boost. Let's see the damage here. Big boy damage, 15k, easy clap. And also we now have the passive up as well, which is really nice. Honestly, I'm just going to use Gepard to maybe freeze this guy here. Ooh, look at that easy freezy. And now we're going to shield break, another 12k damage there, another 4k damage from his follow-up attack. So that's another 16,000 damage right there off rip. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. As I said before, guys, he does a massive amount of damage if you build him right. And this is not even like at his best built relics or anything like that, and he's hitting this much damage. And like I said, guys, if you see, even with the shields, right, he hasn't even been targeted once this whole match. Now, keep in mind, my Gepard does have increased aggro rate on him, as well as Gepard's signature Lightcone as well, so that also could be a pretty big reason why he's not getting targeted. But you can also put these Lightcones on other allies as well. You could put Landau's Choice on, like, Fire MC or something like that and still do a decent amount of damage. 5,000 damage there, 900 from that. He's going to attack again. So we're going to do this one more time. 4,000 damage, an extra 1,000 damage from that. We froze the enemy. Now we'll be doing this here, and he'll be doing extra damage. 13,000 damage, and he's dead. Do you see how many attacks we just got there in a row? Now, that is in part for this actual, the memory chaos we're in. But yeah, guys, absolutely destroyed there. Alright guys, anyways, that's going to do it for our build guide on Yanqing today. If I changed your mind about him or you liked what the damage you saw today, leave a like on the video maybe. Also guys, I do plan on making a guide for March 7th as well. I don't know if this video is going to come out before or after the March 7th video. Haven't decided that yet, but we are going to do a build guide on March 7th and also a build guide in Gepard as well to show a team with him without using a healer. So yeah, that'll be fun too. We also have Klar, so if you guys want to see the Klar build guide, then leave that in the comments below. I know these have been longer videos, so let me know in the comments below too if you enjoy these videos. I know I'm asking a lot of you guys, but I'm really trying to get a gist of like what kind of videos you guys like and how fast you like the videos. If they could be shorter, if they could be this length right here, if you want them longer even, that's kind of weird. But yeah, if you wanted something like that, then let me know that too. But yeah guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this little Yanqing build guide here, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo!